Ella had always dreamed of becoming a renowned painter, but the shadow of self-doubt clouded her every stroke. Living in a small town, her unique style often received mixed reviews, leaving her questioning her path. As the local art show approached, the weight of uncertainty grew heavier. One evening, while walking through the town square, Ella met Mrs. Lillian, an elderly woman known for her wise insights and kind spirit. Noticing Ella's troubled expression, Mrs. Lillian invited her for tea at her quaint cottage the following day. Sitting in the garden surrounded by wildflowers and Mrs. Lillian's impressive sculptures, Ella shared her fears of not being good enough and the daunting thoughts that perhaps her art would never resonate with others. Mrs. Lillian listened intently, then walked Ella over to a large covered object in the corner of the garden. With a gentle smile, she unveiled a striking sculpture of a bird breaking free from a cage, its wings spread wide in flight. "This was my first creation," Mrs. Lillian began, her eyes reflecting a blend of pride and nostalgia. "Like you, I battled with self-doubt. But then I realized the cage wasn't around me. It was within me. The only thing holding me back was my own fear of failure." Ella examined the sculpture, the detail in the feathers, the expression of determination in the bird's eyes. It was a powerful depiction of freedom. The moment I understood that my limitations were self-imposed, I began to sculpt my fate with confidence, Mrs. Lillian continued. Each piece I created was a step towards breaking my inner chains. Inspired by Mrs. Lillian's words and the emotion evoked by her art, Ella returned to her studio with a renewed spirit. She began painting with a vigor she hadn't felt in years. Instead of painting to please others or to meet expectations, she painted to express her deepest emotions and boldest dreams. The art show arrived, and Ella presented a collection that was strikingly different from her previous works. Her paintings now told stories of struggle, resilience, and the beauty of human imperfection. To her surprise, the response was overwhelmingly positive. Viewers were moved by the authenticity and raw emotion of her art. Ella realized that her self-doubt had not only stifled her creativity, but had also dimmed the true essence of her expression. From that day forward, Ella embraced her unique style with pride. Whenever the old fears crept back in, she remembered Mrs. Lillian's sculpture and the bird that dared to break free. Ella had learned that the key to her freedom lay in her own hands, and with each brushstroke, she painted not just pictures, but her path to self-discovery. Through her journey, Ella learned that breaking the chains of self-doubt requires courage to face oneself, the determination to continue despite fear, and the wisdom to know that the only approval needed is one's own. Every artist, and indeed every individual, carries a unique voice and vision within them. Ella's journey teaches us that the shadow of self-doubt can cloud our potential and hinder our progress. However, the moment we choose to believe in our own worth and capabilities, we begin to unlock our true potential. Like Ella, you may encounter skepticism or criticism, but remember that true art resonates when it comes from a place of authenticity and personal truth.